الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. Alhamdulillah, first of all, I just, from the bottom of my heart, from the staff that has worked very hard, also from the local community that worked with them, also the community from Long Island, some of them are here tonight, this afternoon, they were there last night. We went late into the morning and just, mashallah, we've been overwhelmed. The East Coast, the West Coast might not be the best coast, but the East Coast is definitely not the least coast. So you have been really, really supportive, and we're fortunate to have this support in our community. But I have to say, in all honesty, that this, Dr. Ibrahim Musa, and if you noted the, if you noted the lecture series, I'm getting some feedback. I don't know what to do. Sound people, hello? Nothing worse than feedback. We have more engineers in our community, yet our mosques have the worst sound systems.
That's so true.
I used to give khutbah in this masjid with 1,000 engineers, and I would always get these. Yeah, I would always get these horrible reverbs, and I'll tell you a story about the Haram in Medina. This is an absolute true story. They had a massive problem with the feedback. This is a true story, because I heard this from one of the engineers inside the room. And when they first built the masjid, they had state-of-the-art, they brought in German technology, everything. They could not figure out the feedback problem. Well, one day, this man came from Europe. I think he was from Germany, a Turkish man. He came from Europe, and he was really bothered by the feedback. So he went and he told them that he could solve their problem. And they said, do you know about this? He said, yes, I have a discotheque in Berlin, and we had that problem, and I solved it. So he actually solved the problem in Medina for the feedback. It was a sound engineer from Germany who was working in a discotheque. So it's one of the weird things about being on planet Earth. Strange things happen. So I have to tell you, we need your help, we need your support, because this institute is growing, and Dr. Ibrahim Musa, who was there, and if you notice, the lecture series this year has been extraordinary. We have had some of the best scholars come to California, and fortunately, a lot of them come for other things, because we have several major universities in the Bay Area. So we get these visiting scholars coming to Berkeley or Stanford, and we have the opportunity to bring them over, and they can give lectures, and they've been very accommodating so far. So our students have really benefited from that aspect. But we are going to grow. We're bringing in a second year now, the freshmen of next year, and then this freshman class is moving into the sophomore year. We need to hire, we need infrastructure. The only thing that I can really promise you, I have been working with this project for several years. We have made a lot of mistakes. We were on learning curves, and we have tried to be as transparent as possible. We have, alhamdulillah, I can honestly say I do not believe, as far as I know, that there has been any misuse of funds. There has been inefficient use in the past, undeniably, that has bothered me and has bothered other people. But we have not had any problems. We've had internal audits. We've kept it at, we're trying to run it like the best professions in the United States are being run. We have adjusted those things that the internal auditor said needed to be adjusted. And we feel confident that the 501c3, which is the tax-exempt status in the state of California. I don't know what they call it here, or if that's a federal designation, but that's what they call it in California. This last year, though, has been a transitional year. It's really a watershed for Zaytuna. One of the interesting things, a lot of people didn't notice this, but our logo, and many Muslim logos do this. Our logo has a crescent moon. Actually, for the first 10 years, the crescent moon was the wrong way. It was a waning moon. And somebody noticed that, brought it to our attention, so we actually had it switched the right way. Everything changed after that. Right? So it's been waxing since. But I can honestly say that we brought in a first-rate director for the institute, for the college, and Omar Nawaz, when we met him, he was an award-winning manager at Microsoft. He was at, I think, HP before that. Cisco or HP? Cisco. So he has worked in the best of the corporations in this country and knows how to do things at that level. And he really turned the institute around since he's been with us. And it's been a great blessing. Our commitment is to get better and better. Now, what I'd like to talk about is three things right now. The first thing I want to talk about is just education and the idea of education and the problem. Education, the second thing, just so I can remember, so people can keep me clean here. The second thing I want to talk about is where we are, and finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about where we're going. The concept of education is, in the Islamic tradition, central. The Prophet ﷺ said in a sound hadith, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. For those of you who know Arabic, you know what innama means. Innama is what they call, it's a vehicle of encompassment. It means, I was only sent as a teacher. And if you get into rhetoric, people who know these sciences, you have idafi and haqiqi. So it's an idafi, but it's emphasizing the fact that he is saying, I was only sent to teach. I am a teacher. That is essentially what our Prophet ﷺ was. He said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was also sent to perfect noble character, using innama again. Education and morality are inextricably bound together in our tradition. We do not separate the idea of education from morality. There was a time in this country, and it was not that long ago, when they had that idea. That is no longer the case in higher education, even in high schools today. It is simply not the case, and I think you have to be aware of what's happening in this country, because we are seeing a downward spiral that has been increasing since my youth and getting worse and worse. And each year, they say the good news, right? The bad news is this year's worse than last year, but the good news is it's better than next year. This is where we're going as a society. All you have to do is look out and around you. Look at the television programming. There's an amazing statement that Alexander Pope, he was a great poet from the 18th century, died in 1744. He's one of the great British poets. He's famous for his essay on man. But he said, vice is a monster of so frightful mean, meaning face, M-E-I-N. Vice is a monster of so frightful mean as to be hated needs only to be seen. All you have to do is see vice and you hate it because it's ugly. Vice is ugly. Then he said, but seen too oft, it becomes a familiar face. If you see it too much, it becomes a familiar face. And then, first endured, you put up with it, you tolerate it. Then pitied, you start feeling sorry for it. And then embraced. It's embraced. It becomes normal. The Prophet ﷺ said, كيف بكم إذا أصبح المنكر عندكم معروفا. How will it be when what is vice to you today becomes virtue? tomorrow. And they said, أَيَكُونُ ذَلِكَ